Super Sunday beckons on My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. We had quite a lineup yesterday, but what about today? As we mentioned, two of the most colorful teams, at least in terms of their uniforms, going head to head in the afternoon. And then it's a top table clash to follow. Mumbai taking on Delhi, the metro clash. Hyderabad against Rajasthan. Will orange or pink prevail? Lots of team news, lots of talking points. And as always, so much conversation right here in the company of Joy Bhattacharjya, and delighted all the way from such a pretty part of England. Hello to Michael Vaughan. Michael, how are you doing?
Weather. The sun's not shining on what's happening in the country, but we've got a day where the sun has decided to pop its head out. Excited about these two contests today. We've got a game involving a few England players, one in particular that I'm excited to see coming back, and then obviously the Titans clash later on, so it's going to be a great day for the game.
Well summed up there, Joy, but it took all of 4.8 seconds for Michael Vaughan to talk about the weather.
You put an Englishman in the show, what do you expect? And it's so rare that the sun is shining in their part of the world that I'm not at all surprised if it's really good news. I mean, we have the sun out 340 days and we are sick of it. But in England, when the sun does shine, it's the most beautiful country in the world. It's unimaginably beautiful.
It certainly is, but there's no doubt that the sun is shining in the desert. And in some ways, that has been a factor for the day games. We went through all of September without a day game. We came into October, and now we're into the double headers, Michael. An obvious decision for the Sunrisers captain to win the toss and bat first. It's worked for them, but it's inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, on this venue, setting has been the way to go in Dubai. The Sunrisers for many years have been a team that like to get the runs on the board, and then they throw the ball to the likes of Rashid Khan to defend later, particularly on today's game when you think it's a used pitch. The pitches have been slowing up. You're in the day, so the sun will play more of a factor. And Rashid Khan, no question, will play a big part in that second part of the game. And Rajasthan have struggled. They've struggled with the batting hand. They've struggled to chase. They really have dipped in form. Their overseas stars have not really shone apart from Jofra Archer. They'll be hoping that they'll just be hoping that Ben Stokes can just galvanise this group and do something very, very special. It's not going to be easy because he's not been playing any cricket, but if there's one cricketer at this stage in world cricket that could produce some magic, even though he's not been playing cricket, I would say that Ben Stokes is that player.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes you look at an X factor when we talk about picking our My 11 Circle teams. You think about certain players who bat, who bowl, who can take a spectacular catch, and we know Stokes does that. But there are times when you just know it's about inspiration. It doesn't matter how many days he's been out of the game. So when you get onto the website, download the app and start picking your team, I'm guessing he's going to be an inevitable choice, possibly make him captain as well, because certainly as far as Rajasthan are concerned, it's going to be inspiration time. They desperately need it, Michael. You touched briefly on Ben Stokes, but sometimes it's his very presence in the field that can make a difference even before he's done a Superman act.
Yeah, I mean, it's his, forget the field, it's his presence in the dressing room. It's his presence on the training ground. So the last 2 or 3 days that he's been training with the team, before that he was locked in his hotel room, itching to get out. Now he's been with the team, trying to make a difference. And we see it here in England that even when he has games and he doesn't have many that he's quiet in terms of the action, the impact that he's having in that dressing room and the belief that he's sending through the players is massive. So the Rajasthan Royals team will arrive at the ground. They'll be there ready to go out there in the dressing room now with a little bit more lift. They'll be a bit more confident just looking that they've got Ben Stokes just to the left or right of them. He's just that kind of cricketer. We've had so many over the years that can just galvanise a team by just arriving and playing. And also the opposition will know that they've got a superstar that they have to play against, and someone that can do the extraordinary, like we saw last summer on a few occasions in the Ashes, in the World Cup final. Ben Stokes is a cricketer that the game is never lost. He believes that you can win from any situation, and that's what he'll be trying to tell all these Rajasthan Royals teammates today.
Joy, interesting point that Michael makes. It's not just about his presence on the field, but the presence in the dressing room, in the dugout. I mean, you've been a part of a dugout. When you know someone inspirational comes in, it's an impact that starts happening the day before, the night before, even before training, as he said.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember in the KKR days when Jacques Kallis would come, and he was just such a cricketer. And mind you, Jacques Kallis, if you require dental surgery to get a few words out of him, but sheerly by example, what he used to do in that dressing room for you, he was amazing. I mean, he'd go around diving in the Firoz Kotla, and he'd be scraped all over, and all these players would say, "Look, one of the greatest cricketers of all time is prepared to put in that kind of effort. I mean, why can't we?" So these guys lift it, and England has had this great tradition. Ian Botham, then you have from Lancashire, Flintoff. I mean, Botham, Flintoff, Stokes is in that tradition of what you call the great English all-rounder, can do everything, and they're best at these sort of hopeless situations. The script is almost written for them. Like Headingley 81. So many of these things. So the script is almost written for Stokes. If Stokes has to do something heroic, it's almost set up. He's got the perfect opportunity to do it now.
However, if we have to look at the other side of it, there are two aspects to it. One is his record, but before we come to the record, it's an emotional time for Ben Stokes and the family. There's a reason why he had to go away from the series in England, 65 days since he last played a match. And of course, he was in New Zealand with the family, and this is what he had to say. Saying goodbye to dad, mum, and brother in Christchurch was tough. It's been a difficult time for us as a family, but they've pulled together, supported each other as best we can, and was able to get on the plane with my parents' love and blessing after we reached the decision. Because a lot of people obviously gave him those privacy moments, but it was obviously a decision that was collectively by the family, and they said, "This is what you need to do. We are behind you."
Yeah, I know Ben quite well, and I know it was his dad. His dad told him to go and play. His dad wanted him to go and play in the IPL. His dad wants to be sitting in New Zealand watching him play in the IPL. It's obviously a very tough time for all the family, and particularly Ben. He and his dad have an incredible relationship, are very, very close. And I would think Ben was probably thinking he should have stayed in New Zealand, but it was his dad, Jed, that went, "Son, you've got to get on the plane. You're going to go and play cricket. I want to watch you in the IPL." And that's why he's arrived in Dubai to play for the Rajasthan Royals. But I think that's, will inspire Ben. You just know the kind of cricketer he is. When he had the situation in South Africa, unfortunately, when his dad fell ill, Ben kind of galvanised himself to go and kind of almost inspire his father by producing performances. That's why I don't rule out an incredible performance from Ben Stokes today. We saw it actually from Chris Morris yesterday, who'd not been playing a lot of cricket. He got 3 for 19 on the back of no game time. So it can happen that players can come straight into the contest and produce magic. And it wouldn't surprise me at all today if Ben Stokes produced some magic.
Joy, we've seen Ben Stokes in the Pune colours not too long ago, and he performed pretty well for them. But Ben Stokes and Rajasthan, at least the record, probably by Ben Stokes' standards, isn't exactly what he'd like to see as a return. 13 matches in 2018, just under 200 runs, got the 8 wickets, perhaps even better with the ball than with bat in hand. But it's that destructiveness in that middle order that they really need now.
No, absolutely. And, economy rate of 11.22 is something he won't be particularly proud of. But that's the thing with these cricketers, you'll, like Botham, again, I go back to those examples that they'll bowl bad ball after bad ball. They look disinterested. They look as if they're not. One day they'll come, they'll turn it on. They have that unique ability to turn it on. And that's what these guys bank on. The other thing I think which will be in Stokes' favor is the fact that if they play, I mean, Rashid Khan is the only bowler he'll have to look at and say, you know what, give him respect, play out those 4 overs, finish it off. But the rest of the bowling is nothing that would give sleepless nights to a player of Stokes' quality. I mean, because of Bhuvaneshwar Kumar getting injured and the situation, a lot of bowlers off form, the situation is that they don't have really what they call bowlers of the quality of, say, a Rabada or somebody of Saini's pace who can really scare them. Khalil Ahmed there, Sandeep Sharma there, Natarajan, none of these players are going to scare Ben Stokes. And I think that's also a big advantage if you're going to come into bat.
Quick look at playing 11. That one change you're seeing over there, Vijay Shankar. So much expected from him at the start of the season. He gave way to a couple of the youngsters, and Abhishek Sharma and Abdul Samad. One of them has relinquished his spot to get Vijay Shankar back in. Looks settled, but Michael, as Joy said, perhaps if there's a weakness, it's that slight toothlessness in the attack other than Rashid Khan, which is why they probably need the insurance of a few extra runs if they bat first.
Yeah, I mean, the Sunrisers are so dominant with their overseas. You know, it's that overseas opening partnership. If you can keep that quiet, I think it goes a long way to you beating the Sunrisers. If you can keep Rashid Khan quiet, I think it goes a long way to you beating the Sunrisers. And the problem that you have when you face the Sunrisers, if Bairstow and Warner come out and play like they did in the last game, they're a very, very difficult team to beat. And if Rashid Khan gets a score on the board of anything around par or just beyond, you know that he's going to have an impact. What the Rajasthan Royals have to do is break that opening partnership, restrict the Sunrisers to something below par, and then chase it with a cool, calm head in the second part of the game. But, you know, the Sunrisers, for me, they've always been streetwise. They're missing the likes of Bhubaneswar Kumar. They're missing a little bit of know-how with that bowling attack. But I still think they're streetwise enough once they get the runs on the board to try and restrict the opposing team. That's what they've done for many, many years. They have never really been the powerhouse of the 220s or the 210s consistently. You know, they generally play for that par score, 160, 170, particularly in Dubai. I think that'll be very competitive. And then they kind of, with the captaincy of David Warner, I don't actually think gets enough credit for how good a captain he is in T20 career. I think he's really, really smart in this format of the game. And he'll be very confident as a captain. Even though he hasn't got the greatest bowling attack, he knows he's got enough that if the team get a decent score, the way that he manages them and operates them, he'll be confident of defending it.
And that's been their secret, not just this season, but in past seasons as well. Michael mentioned 160. There are times we found, even in conditions in India, when a 140 was something they would look at and say, okay, that's enough for us. We've got the bowling to defend it. And have a look at them this season. And it's been interesting how they've adapted well in terms of their boundary percentages in the different venues. We saw they ran a lot of singles, twos early on. And in that last game, when we saw Bairstow-Warner partnership, Joy, the boundaries were being turned on.
No, absolutely. And I think what they're doing is, because again, is what Michael said, the important thing for them is because their openers are so very important for them, it's important for them to play riskless cricket. You know, Warner, this team depends so much on Warner and Bairstow that Bairstow still has the license to take a few chances. Warner does not take chances. Warner is just a very clever cricketer and he hits anything that's loose, but he does not take any unnecessary chances right now because he knows too much of it depends on him. Now, what is going to happen though is one of the players that they actually rate very highly is Vijay Shankar. And Vijay Shankar went out because he had a niggle. If Vijay Shankar can come back and give them some stability, maybe batting at 5, giving them some runs out there, you know, then they'll feel a little bit more secure about it. Right now, they have Billy Stanley sitting out there who they dearly love to play, and they just can't afford to play because their, you know, batsmen 4, 5, 6, 7 look too fragile for them not to play Williamson. So I think they'll be really hoping that, you know, Vijay Shankar gets it on and starts giving them the option where they might even play another fast bowler, an international fast bowler in the future.
Well, we were looking at the possibilities of how to get in. We had so many discussions, Michael, on that. There were a few matches ago when Bairstow was not looking in the best of form, and we said, okay, Bairstow maybe can sit out. You can get a young Indian keeper in, and then Bairstow comes and blasts it out of the park. So that's gone. We had Simon Dool on the show. He said, if you dare drop Kane Williamson, I'll never come back again. So we had so many problems to deal with. But let's talk about Johnny Bairstow. And Michael, I want to get you in on this because apart from anything else, he features in our Boost Stamina meter today. And certainly with the amount of time he spent at the crease, that's going to be very important. Remember, also behind the stumps, have a look at this is the leaderboard. And we'll show you where Johnny Bairstow features because he's going to be getting up that leaderboard very shortly. At the moment, 72.7, just outside the leaderboard, 58 balls on an average in the Hyderabad innings. He's at the crease, which is very important. And just short of 50% of the team's runs have come via running, picked up 3 half centuries. What makes Johnny Bairstow stick, Michael Vaughan, particularly from a stamina perspective?
Well, he's an incredible athlete. I really do think if you go back across the last 4 years, he's right up there with the best in terms of opening the batting in white ball cricket, 50 overs and T20. He's an outstanding striker. But that running between the wickets, if you look back at his junior days, he was an incredible footballer. He was signed up by Leeds United. He could quite easily have gone and been a footballer. He could have been a rugby player. He's one of those, a little bit like AB de Villiers, one of those annoying kids that could do absolutely everything. He strikes the golf ball as far as anybody. A little bit wayward with the golf stick, but You know, it's his movement and his running and his power, and that's come from playing lots of different sports, not just cricket, but rugby, and played a bit of tennis as well when he was a kid. But he was a brilliant footballer. Why he chose cricket over football, I've no idea, because he could have been in the Premier League playing for Leeds United as we speak. He's decided to play in Dubai in the 40 degrees heat, sweating, running, and smacking the ball to all parts. The last innings he played, that was special. You know, to get to 97 and play with so much power and control. And this is where this opening partnership is so good. The left-hand, right-hand combination is obviously a good one, but they're so good at running between the wickets. So they just knock it. If they get a good ball off a bowler, they knock it, particularly on that leg side, where generally got 3 fielders on the boundary, and they just knock it for quick twos. There's not enough made of the fact of hitting it into the pockets and getting twos in T20 cricket. Most people talk about striking 4s and 6s. It's the ability to knock the good ball for a 2, in my opinion, which stands the better players against the lesser players. You look at Virat Kohli yesterday, I think he had 5 dot balls. You know, he activates pretty much every single ball that he faces. That's what the great players do.
Good choice of word there from Michael Vaughan. Activates. And I think that's what Johnny Bairstow has shown us. That's what the Bairstow-Warner partnership has shown us. And of course, yes, Leeds United, it's a good place to be. Joy, very quickly, we talked about Ian Botham on the show earlier. Not quite Leeds United for Premiership, but Scunthorpe United used to be a reason why he was seen as an all-rounder.
Exactly. And, Scunthorpe United in those days was a 3rd division side. But I have to tell you, and I know this is not in the point, but Scunthorpe United is a very funny story. Scunthorpe United basically one day disappeared from the net. And the reason was that apparently after a while, the net had a filter for obscenity. So what happened is it caught the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th words of the name Scunthorpe United, and anything with those words were taken off the net. So one fine morning, all the fans of Scunthorpe United got up and found out that their team isn't on the net. So it's the kind of thing that can happen. But yeah, I remember him playing in those days for Scunthorpe United. He was quite something. And, Botham exactly. Johnny Bairstow's dad was also, obviously an international cricketer of repute and a pretty fit guy himself. And I think Bairstow, that's what he does. He's not apparently one of the biggest proponents of gym. He's one of those guys who's just fit because he's fit, and he's fit because he plays a lot of games. Everyone now has to do a bit of gym, but the amount of his is not a body that's prepared in a gym. It's a body that's been prepared playing sport.
Yeah.
Never know what stories we could sneak in there between football and cricket, and keep an eye on Michael Vaughan's background. So Alex pops out at you. So we've got so many greats on the show here, but let's not forget 2 teams playing, 4 actually playing today, but 2 playing the afternoon game. We've talked about the men in orange. What about Ben Stokes and the men in pink? Yes, a confirmation that he does come into the team in place of Andrew Tye, but they've also brought back the experience of Robin Uthappa. They've brought back Rian Parag, who started the tournament, then went out, and he comes back in. Seems to be, this is where they're looking to lean towards finding their best 11, Michael, once Stokes comes in and gives them that balance.
Yeah, but Stokes is the key, but, a lot of these teams, Kings 11, how they didn't chase down yesterday, and why Glenn Maxwell didn't come in towards the end, I'll never know, but that's for another story. They're just trying to find the form, a lot of swapping and changing. This looks a more experienced team. Obviously Ben adds to that, but Uthappa coming back in, it looks to me like Rajasthan have gone, you know what, we're in desperate need. We're going to go with our experience and try and get us over the line with players that have been there, done it. No doubt have been in this kind of situation before, whether it's for their international teams, for their franchises. And I think it's quite a sensible move just to try and go for a bit of experience in a situation that they find themselves. They just need to get their better players playing consistently. And that's such an easy thing to say, but they just have nothing really from Josh Butler apart from 170. Steve Smith came out the traps nicely at the start of the tournament. In the last few games, he's looked like a cat on a hot tin roof. He's just not looked settled at all. Smith, for me, should just play the anchor role and just knock it around and allow the firecrackers to play around him. Jofra Archer, as you see from the numbers on the screen, he's been outstanding. He's been high class with the bat and the ball. Looking forward to that confrontation with David Warner. Jofra had him on toast in the recent series here in England, had him out 4 times in 6 games. So that'll be interesting to watch. And surely Rajasthan have to attack first with Jofra Archer bowling to David Warner and Johnny Bairstow. If they can strike in the first 6 and get rid of those 2, it'll go a long way to them winning the game. If they allow that partnership to develop and they don't bowl the best bowlers early enough to get rid of them, and they allow those players to get in, and then all of a sudden you're throwing the ball to the better bowlers when they're in, well, I'd be throwing the first punch today. Rajasthan Royal have to come out of the traps and bowl the best bowlers in the first 3 overs to try and dislodge that partnership.
Yeah, I was just visualizing the cat on a hot tin roof, which is pretty much exactly how Steve Smith likes to bat. Imagine him on a hot tin roof in Dubai in 45 degrees. But that's Steve Smith. That's the way he likes to play. However, Joy, the problem this season has been, after those first couple of innings, the cat on a hot tin roof has actually been playing the wrong kind of shot and getting out to that ungainly style rather than using it to his effect.
He doesn't need to take those chances. They have batsmen around him who can take those chances. His job is to bat 20 overs. And that's the important thing. If you looked at, I just want to take you back to Bairstow's stats. One of the big stats out there is he bats on average for 58 balls. 58 balls means you're basically playing 10 overs in every match. On an average, you're playing 10 overs of the innings. Johnny Bairstow is standing out there for Sunrisers Hyderabad. And that's why they're 3-3. Those guys are going out there and playing long innings out there, spending time in the middle. And that's what Steve Smith needs to do. Some of the shots that he tried in the first few overs against high quality pace was, frankly, this is not what Steve Smith is built to do. The other thing I'm thinking is, you look at that Rajasthan lineup. I promise you, and I've been a part of these IPL teams, there's been this inspirational team meeting where they've said, you know what, this is 2-4. We lose this one, it's over. We're not, it's a too deep a hole to dig ourselves out of. If you win today, it's 3-4 and you're 1 game away from 50%. They've had this really emotional team meeting, and Robin and all are the kind of guys who, if you tell them you're special, you need to do this, Robin, the team needs to, you need to do this for the team today. They've got all those old guys together and they've said, it's like one last hurrah, one last dance, go out there and do it. So they'll be charged up, they'll be up there and saying that, we win this, we are back in the tournament. We lose this, we're out. So they'll play desperate cricket. And if they do play desperate cricket, they have a good chance.
Another person who's going to be part of that desperate squad, and we did bring you a glimpse of what we thought was the final lineup, but it's been an extra change. And let's just update that for you. Varun Aaron is also not starting in this 11. So along with Jofra Archer at the top, there's going to be the experience of Jaydev Unadkat. Michael Vaughan said he wants the big men to come and bowl early at Warner and Bairstow, because if you can separate them, that is already a big dent in the Orange Army, and that's going to be a huge factor. Another factor that we always like to bring to you is our My 11 Circle trump card. Who is that left field choice that you can make? And you might be surprised when you first see our choice, because Sanju Samson has been in everyone's team for games 1, 2, and 3. We told you there's a trend. He tends to taper off. So a lot of you have got rid of him. My point to you is it's his 100th IPL match. Ben Stokes is in the dressing room. Sanju Samson is going to be inspired today. So if you've pulled him out, folks, put him back in. I know you've got Johnny Bairstow in your team. You can accommodate a second keeper. Put Sanju Samson back in. That's our My 11 Circle trump pick for today. So, Michael, very quickly, in terms of a score, what is it that they need to look at? First and foremost, the reason why I'm asking you that is because we've got our My 11 Circle Badge of Honor competition, and it's not just about your opinion. You get that 20 over score right, and you will be walking away with the Badge of Honor.
I'm going to stay very, very consistent around the ground. I'm going to go 160 in Dubai. It's a used pitch. Maybe not as much. I think 160 will be a very tough chase. So I think the Sunrisers will be aiming for that kind of score. If they get beyond that, they will be delighted. So I'm going 160.
I'm going to add just a dollop of delight for them and go 169. Joy, I can just see you smiling and wanting to go much higher.
You like that 69 number. It's a nice number. No, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to lowball you gentlemen today. I'm going to go. I have a feeling that Rajasthan will come out all guns firing. 145.
Well done, well done. Low balling, Joy. You're in form today, actually. If you have a look back at all this, but you need to continue your form. Before we let you go, what's your brain teaser for us and the world? What's the joy factor question for today?
Okay, here goes. Two of these players, and it's a list of players. Two of these players currently captain teams in this IPL tournament. The current Delhi squad has a maximum players on this list, 3. Mumbai and Hyderabad, 2 each. and Punjab, Kolkata, and Rajasthan have one apiece. What is this list that I'm talking about? What is this list of players that, two of them captain IPL teams, and this is the way they're spread out? Delhi has three, and Delhi is interesting that Delhi has three players of that list.
Oh, I wasn't even aware that I was being seen. I was just trying to just wander off into my own space and figure out what this answer was all about. It's a tough one. It's one of those teasers that Joy likes to give us. It's a Sunday special from him. Michael, you have any ideas? Don't give anything away.
I'll be honest with you, Joy's questions, they generally go straight over my head. Even one the other day that I was actually involved in.
You and Sean Pollock, right?
That's okay. We like to keep everyone on their toes. Hopefully, we'll have the answers coming in. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live. Keep it coming. Hashtag Ask Cricbuzz Live. If you want any more questions, we'll feature them. We've got a long Sunday ahead of us, and we've got wonderful company to discuss so much cricket and more. It's Rajasthan who are fielding first because David Warner has decided to bat first. And of course, Mumbai versus Delhi later tonight. Cricbuzz Combox will be coming to you in the 10th over, and then everything to discuss at the end on My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live.